I am currently in Snowdonia as promised, and I'm going to take my first few shots here on the A7IV. You can't see the shot from where I am, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my tripod up on these rocks. I'm going to use those as a line to sort of lead you towards Trifan, which is just over there. There's no real light at the moment here. The sun hasn't kind of come up yet. Yeah, I think it should be out, but it's a bit cloudy. So I'm going to set that shot up and we'll see what we think.
So after getting the tripod up onto the rocks and sort of finding that leading line, I discovered that I didn't actually really like the foreground because it kind of disappeared into the grass. So I went searching for something different. I found something and decided to move the tripod over here towards these sort of pointed rocks that you can see in the center of the frame. They led nicely up to the mountain, and at this point the light started to get really, really pretty.
So yeah, pretty happy with that. I think that's going to make a nice print actually. Usually I come away with quite abstract shots, but that's quite a classic landscape shot, so pretty happy with that. Took a few portraits for the gram as well, of course. But yeah, let's crack on. Just trying to decide whether to go up there or not. There's no visibility up there, and judging by what it's like here, it's not going to be terribly good for you guys if I go up there, because the microphone is going to just be. So we're back at the bottom, swapping over to the other side of the valley. I actually think I'm going to grab a quick shot from here. You can see I've got this little bit of foreground down here, the kind of mountains in the back. The water is pretty ripply, but what I'll do is I'll chuck an ND filter on it, do a long exposure. That should level out the water and we'll see what happens. For anyone new to photography, that little hook on the bottom of your tripod, that's what that's for. Okay, so I think I'm going to try for one more shot. I'm going to go up here, shoot across the lake, Flynn, and then hopefully that'll work. It's quite nice because in the snow you don't really need much light because the snow highlights the mountains a little bit. But at the same time, I've not got crampons, so I can't go too high up. We'll see how far we can get safely and try and get this shot. So I can't really find any foreground that I think is mind-blowing or, you know, that interesting. So I think I'm just going to settle for an Instagram post and use my own feet as the foreground. So here it is. So I think what we're going to do, we'll do something a little bit different in this video. I'm not going to leave it there. What we'll do, we'll head back to the studio. We'll get some of these printed up and see what they look like. Okay, so we are back in the studio. I think of all of the shots that we got from that trip, there's one that is definitely printable, and it is this one here. So I'm going to set that to print, and while that's printing, let's just quickly talk about my first impressions of taking photos with the A7R4. To me, the A7R4 feels great in my hand. I'm coming from the A7 A7R4, which up until now all of my sort of big shots have been done on the A7R2. I'm going to be selling this back to mpb.com. I bought it secondhand from MPB. MPB is a great place to sort of trade up your gear and, you know, buy secondhand, sell secondhand, that sort of thing. I'll leave a link to those guys in the description. So I'm coming from that, and this is a great camera, but in your hand, this just feels way, way, way nicer. First sort of thing that I really like about this camera is that it is 33 megapixels. That's kind of a perfect spot for my needs, okay? So this is 42 megapixels, takes nice big images. However, I take a lot of images. I'm not one of these like go out and get that one big shot. I take a lot of images, I document the process, probably the Instagrammer in me does that. So when I come back, I've got thousands of images and takes up a huge amount of space on a hard drive. 33 megapixels will take up a lot of space still, but it is just that file size is just a little bit smaller, which does make a big difference if you've got sort of 500, 600 photos on the SD card that you need to upload. So that was a big thing for me. Now the A7S3 is 12 megapixels, and actually the prints from it, they look great. I don't think most people will actually see the difference, particularly at a distance. But the main trouble is, okay, when I'm doing a job, a bit like in the beginning, when I'm working for an agency or something and they send me through a contract to shoot a space, they often have particular requirements in terms of resolution, and unfortunately the 12 megapixels of the A7S3 doesn't cut it. The 33 megapixels here will cut it. So when I sign those contracts, I am telling the truth. Now I really like the battery life on this as well. Anyone who had the A7 III probably won't see a huge difference, but for anyone like me who's been using the older battery system on the A7R2 or the A7S2, those sorts of things, the battery is much, much better in here, and also it means that I don't have to carry two different battery systems with me. Before I had to carry the old batteries for the photo camera and the newer batteries for the A7S III. So battery is great. Now this isn't really a video test of the A7 IV, this is more a photo test, but when I did see one clip of video that I took on this while I was up the mountain, it kind of blew me away a little bit. It's sharp. I'm sure it's sharper than the A7S III. I'm not really going to go into comparisons and things, but I'll show you the little clip that I'm talking about, which, you know, is really nice. To be honest, it kind of looks like a photo until I show myself in the shot a little bit. So the next thing that is a massive upgrade for me personally is the EVF, the viewfinder. So from here, the photos look great, but the viewfinder kind of washes them out a bit. They look a bit gray, and it's not terribly exciting while you're taking the photo. However, the viewfinder on this is fantastic. It's just like the A7S III. I think it's actually a little bit better to your eye, but it's fantastic, which makes this to me kind of the perfect stills camera for my needs. I've kind of got a decent combo going on where I've got the A7S III for video and some photos as I go, and then I can take this out, I can do a bit of video if I want to, and I've got a brilliant stills camera which will create nice small image files, but image files that are big enough for me to print. And with that in mind, let's check our print. So I'm actually really happy with how this one came out. This is printed on the Canon Pro 1000, and this is probably the first shot I've taken which I've been excited to print, and also as it was printing, coming out the end of the printer, I was excited and kind of my mind was a little bit blown, and I got excited particularly by these rocks in the foreground. So thank you in advance for hitting that like button, and if you are one of my subscribers, I will see you in the next one.